right, everybody. Peter Vekselman here. On the other side, I have amazing Shelly Washington. Shelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Well, for those of you that don't know me, again, my name is Peter Vekselman with Partner Driven Real Estate Investing. And what we are is a real estate investing company that does something unusual. We actually partner with the people that we teach. And a lot of times in the traditional model, you get your training, you learn something, and then they kind of throw you to the wolves. And a lot of people in the real estate business realize there's a million miles between knowing something and doing something. So here at Partner Driven, we not only teach people, but help them with marketing and help them close deals, but we also provide them all the capital. This deal was on 3106 Banneker in Washington, D.C.
Correct.
Already a competitive marketplace and all this. You found it brilliantly. You negotiated brilliantly. We owned it for a very short period of time because as soon as we bought it, we already had the buyer. We bought it for $250, right?
Right.
And sold it in an as-is condition without touching it for how much?
I think it was 340.
About 340. So not bad. That's from 250 to 340. But just the fact that you didn't have to put the $250,000 up yourself. How did that feel?
That was the awesome part. And that's my main reason for joining Partner Driven. Not because I didn't have those kind of funds. But with you, I mean, with Partner Driven, you have all the capital. And that's the biggest part of it, because I know that real estate is very lucrative, but it can be very, very challenging too. If you don't know what you're doing, you can lose a lot of money, which I know you're aware of, Peter.
I
So
lived
I
it.
was not aware. I was not willing to do that. I want the reward, but not the risk. So,
Sure. So, Miss Shelley, talk a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And just give us some basic, and what do you do for a living?
I'm from Philadelphia. I was born and raised in Philadelphia. So I spent half my life in Philadelphia and half of my life in the DMV. I'm a legal secretary by profession, and I've always been interested in real estate, though. Real estate, I know, is the best way to create wealth. So that is why I joined Partner Driven, and it has been the best experience ever. It's been just wonderful.
I want to remind you of a conversation. You may remember this, you may not remember this. But before we closed that deal, you called me probably about a month before then.
Right.
I don't know if you remember this, but you were pretty darn discouraged. Like you just didn't think it was possible. You didn't think this business would work. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I didn't think that this deal would work. I knew the business would work, but I did not think that the deal was going to work. I started at one price and the seller was like, he was adamant about a one price, and we started at 350 actually. That deal closed at 250, which is like $100,000 less, which is just incredible. But I thought that it wasn't going to be a deal, because the seller was like, he said that the 300 was going to be his final number. Lo and behold, he said, well, what would you do it for? I was shocked.
One of the things that I see so often, when people make mistakes in real estate is they don't think things are negotiable.
Right. Yeah.
I tell people, interesting enough, Shelley, I tell people that is the biggest profit center, is the negotiations. Where a lot of times people think it's kind of like see deal, do deal, and it's either deal or no deal. I always tell people, every deal, there is a bigger upside than you realize. And so I want to make sure I understand, and everybody understands what you just said. Literally, you were able to negotiate this deal as we started working together through it, from the initial 350 down to 250.
Exactly.
And how many times? Wasn't it 3 times we did a price drop on this one?
Yeah, we started at 350.
Right.
Then I went down to 300, and then we went down to the 250s.
As you kind of look back at that deal, what do you think the biggest challenges were, like from your perspective in that deal?
What was the biggest challenge?
Well, I'll tell you some of the ones I saw as we worked together on this one. There had to be a lot of coordination. I mean, we still have people living in the property.
Oh yeah,
And so let me just say this. You worked, Shelley, and by the way, I talk about you so often. You worked through these challenges. Number one, the renegotiation. You got that down. You're a brilliant student. Number two, you had to coordinate a lot of things. Like we had,
Absolutely.
yeah, we had, was that his family members that was still living there?
Family members, yes.
That's
Hmm.
right. And we actually had picked a buyer before we had to even close on it, which was a huge, huge play. But in order to do that, if you remember our realtor, the amazing Chris, I
Chris
love that
Craddock,
guy. Yeah,
I
I
remember.
love Chris.
He's
But
awesome.
yeah, he was able to pre-list that property before we had to
Yeah,
close on it, which, by the
yeah,
way, that's a huge advantage, as you learned in the marketplace. So you
yes,
were able to
yeah.
coordinate that because they had to get some buyers into this deal before we even took title and owned it. I mean, so I could tell you every single challenge you handled brilliantly. And I kid you not, Shelly, I literally talk about you to other people and use you as an example all the time. The fact that, like,
Well,
well, if the fact is that if you could follow instructions, you could do it, right?
oh, absolutely. I'm 100% on with that. That's how I got this deal done. I follow instructions very well. I mean, there's no other way. Follow instructions.
That's like the first thing I tell people when they get started with us is that you got to be coachable. If you want
Yeah.
to be successful, you want to be coachable. Now, the other thing is, we hit on it a couple times, but I want to hit it one more time from your end. How important was it the ability that you were being coached along the way, all the way through this deal?
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, it was just awesome. I mean, to have somebody there to guide me and talk me through when I ran into an issue, it's just great. I mean, Mary, for the title company and all that, I had never done that. So now that I've gone through it, I understand it a lot better. You don't understand it actually until you actually go through it. So there's nothing like experience. I mean, I understand it a lot better now. I mean, I did have knowledge, book knowledge, but I didn't have experience, and there's nothing that replaces experience. You
That's
know.
awesome. And you're right. And it's always better to experience something while somebody's guiding you through it. You know what I mean? you,
Yes.
you don't want to be the lone maverick. So just kind of as an exit question, how would you take everything we just talked about and just summarize your overall experience with Partner Driven?
I would say it was great, just a great experience. It was comforting to know that you all were there. It was comforting to know that I had, you know, yourself and Tommy and Mary, for the closing. It was amazing. I mean, I couldn't have done it on my own. I definitely would not have been able to do it on my own. But I certainly could not have done it without you all, without the help of you all, because I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't. So thank you.
I could tell you, you're an amazing partner. And so the final question, and I know the answer to this, we ready to do more?
Oh, absolutely. I have not stopped.
I love it.
And it has really motivated me to keep going. And I mean, I do make I mean, that's the challenge. That's the most challenging part is finding the
Sure.
sellers. That is my most challenging part of the whole process, finding the motivated sellers.
And by the way, that never changes. I don't care if you're doing your first deal or if you're doing your thousandth deal. That's
Okay.
the magic of being a successful investor from the get-go. Then you need the
Okay.
20,000 other pieces to make it work, but that is the magic. And
That's the magic.
but let me just tell you, awesome deal. Congratulations, and Shelly, looking forward to a ton more. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Have a good one.